The Son of Frankenstein was an entertaining 1939 black and white Universal monster movie. And this is, I believe, if I'm counting correctly, the third in the Frankenstein series. So you had the original Frankenstein, then Bride of Frankenstein, and now this is the Son of Frankenstein. Now, going into this, I thought, Son of Frankenstein, wait, did the monster have a kid? And no. It's basically the Basil Rathbone, the actor, who is amazing, frankly. He comes in as the son of Doctor Frankenstein, okay? So just to kind of set up the story here, so we've kind of jumped ahead in time a little bit. And Basil Rathbone, he was great. He was in The Adventures of Robin Hood as the baddie, and, he's a great actor with a lot of dimension to his acting. I'll kind of get into that in a bit. But basically, he shows up, and he wants to redeem his father's name because, Dr. Frankenstein had something of a bad reputation, with the whole building the killing monster and all of that stuff. So he wants to kind of clean up his name a little bit. And initially, you think he's a pretty straightforward fellow. He shows up, he's got his wife and his kid. He seems really happy and cheerful. And through the film, we see him sort of start to transform a little bit and become a little bit kind of loopy, kind of like his dad. And that was one of the things I really admired about the acting of Basil Rathbone here. He does a great job as kind of stepping into the shoes of crazy Dr. Frankenstein. Yeah. So he shows up at the castle, and the sets and the way it's designed is amazing. These huge, creepy buildings with the big arched ceilings and the bizarre openness to it. And early in the film, he shows up and they live in this big Frankenstein castle, and they meet with the police chief. And what was really entertaining about this is he shows up, he has this artificial arm, and he moves it around just like Doctor Strangelove did. Where he needs to put the monocle to his eye, he can lift up his right arm and put the monocle back. So it's early in the film too that Igor shows up, and he meets with the doctor. And Bella Lugosi of Dracula fame shows up and plays Igor. And his role in this was just amazing. Now, he didn't really resemble, I thought, didn't really look like the Igor of the earlier films, but we'll let that one go. Now he's a lot more shaggier and bearded, and his neck is all crazy from they tried to hang him, but they couldn't hang him. And he's got the hunchback and everything. And that's kind of neat to see him show up as kind of a connection character. And eventually what happens is the Dr. Frankenstein finds out that the monster is still alive, but barely. He's kind of in this weakened, comatose state. And, well, you can kind of figure it out. Dr. Frankenstein figures, well, let's try to revive it. That'll be a good idea. So he spends a bunch of time in his lab while the creepy music is playing, and he's studying the monster's heart and his blood. And, observes there's bullets in his heart, and he still lives.
Left ventricular preponderance. And look here, Benson, look at this. Do you know what those are?
No, sir.
Bullets. 2 bullets in his heart.
So there's this weird edit, and we go right from the lab where they are trying to revitalize the monster. And the edit is that we jump over to suddenly Igor is on trial in the village, and all the villagers are talking to him and finding out what in the world's going on at Frankenstein Castle. I guess I missed a break, or maybe the version I was watching just had an abrupt cut, but suddenly there's Igor, and he's laughing away in the court, and the people basically say, look, keep an eye on Frankenstein, watch what he's doing, make sure he's not up to any trouble, make sure he's not, bringing any monsters back to life. And then we kind of get back to the castle again, and Dr. Frankenstein is talking with his wife and with the inspector. And it's at this point their son comes walking in, and he casually makes this comment about how a monster had come to visit him in his room. And, it's kind of a creepy scene because the inspector, we find out, he had his arm ripped off long ago by the monster. So when he hears the kid talking about the monster's back, he starts, getting this panicked look in his face. So Dr. Frankenstein had done all his experiments, done the lightning thing and stuff, and he had kind of given up on the monster, figuring he could not reanimate him, and he thought the monster was still back in the lab. But when he gets back to the monster lab, the monster's gone. So eventually, Dr. Frankenstein, he finds the monster, sees that he and Igor have this special rapport with one another. And I thought this was interesting. I'm going to nerd out a little bit, but it reminded me of the original Castlevania game for the Nintendo system. Because when you had to fight the Frankenstein monster, you had the little hunchback character was on that level too, and you had to beat both of them at the same time. And I don't know if that was intentional or if that was actually a nod to Son of Frankenstein, but I thought that pairing was interesting. And that's basically the core of what's going on here with the Frankenstein monster, is he and Igor have this friendship. And in a way you feel sorry for the monster because this friendship he has, it's kind of a throwback to Bride of Frankenstein, where the monster just wanted a friend. And in that film, he found the blind man who, gave him food and gave him drink and gave him cigars to smoke. Well, here he finds a friend in Igor, but as the viewer finds out, Igor's kind of a jerk. And he's basically playing his little flute musical instrument, and every time he does, Frankenstein goes out and kills somebody. So basically, Frankenstein's set to work doing the evil bidding of Igor. So the police chief, he's going to have the doctor arrested on suspicion because people are dying around the village. And that's when the doctor goes after Igor to confront him. And I'll kind of stop there with the plot, and you can kind of see how things go. But basically, Igor is the criminal mastermind behind getting the monster, causing mayhem around the village. And this is how the film kind of builds up to its final conclusion, of course. So you get to watch it for yourself. It was a well-made movie. It's got all of the things I would want to see in one of these Universal monster movies. It's got the creepy atmosphere, the creepy music. You get plenty of scenes with the monster. So it was great to see Bella Lugosi as Igor and also Boris Karloff as the monster. So it was pretty cool seeing two of the big names of these monster films paired up together. And they get to share plenty of screen time. I thought that was really neat. And of course, Basil Rathbone as the actual Son of Frankenstein. That was pretty neat as well. He does a really great job kind of stepping into this role and watching his invariable transformation from, nice family guy to mad scientist who, for some crazy reason, wants to reanimate the monster that caused so much trouble in the first place. But he has his reasons, I guess, and it's a great film. It's a great film in the series of the Universal Monsters and worth checking out.